Greyhawk, welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good.
Doing great.
Very good.
Okay, introduce yourself and tell me what you do in the band.
My name's Darin Wall. I play bass guitar and backing vocals.
I'm Rev Taylor. I am the lead singer and I write the lyrics.
Jesse Berlin and rhythm and lead guitar.
Excellent. What were the origins of Greyhawk?
Well, I guess the origins of Greyhawk were me and Jesse started the
Yeah.
band in 2016. We met. Basically, we'd both recently moved to Seattle. We were looking for fellow musicians to play with. I was looking on Craigslist and I saw this guy playing Racer X covers on YouTube, and I was like, man, I'd really like to play music with this guy. And turns out for some reason he wanted to play music with me too. So it worked out.
Of all places.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then we literally met everybody else on Craigslist pretty much, except for Rob, the new guitar player. That's pretty much how it came to be.
Yeah, I mean, I come from the classical music world, and I was, feeling a little bit like I needed to, break out and do something a little bit different. So one day, kind of on a whim, I was like, I'll look on Craigslist, see if anyone's looking for a metal singer, because I've always been a big metalhead. And I figured, I've never just sung for a metal band before, but, I could probably figure out some power metal or something. And third listing down on Craigslist, like metal band seeks vocalist, and it was these guys. And I can't tell you how lucky I was to click on that link, because I found some of the best rock musicians in the U.S. So it's been incredible.
Outstanding. Anything else to add?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah, full Craigslist band. Kind of what Darin said. A interesting fact about this band is we didn't know each other, but me and Rev are from the same small city in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I lived in Vancouver briefly for 4 years, but didn't know Darin. And then our old guitar player was from New York, and I also live in New York. So
Yeah,
Small world.
It's been a wheel.
So when you formed the band, did you have any specific goals in mind?
Yeah, to not be a local band, to go on tour, to play festivals, to make records, and do more than I'd done with my other bands in my previous works. That's basically was my goals.
Why the name Greyhawk?
We just thought it sounded cool.
It does.
For the most part, and no other bands had that name taken. There was the Bards of Greyhawk, which is a little different, and I played D&D as a kid, so it just resonated, and we just went with it.
Yeah, it just sounded cool. I remember we had lists of various colors and animals. We'd gotten to the point where we were just red falcon, black eagle, Greyhawk, and it just, it had the right ring to it.
It does have the right ring to it. You totally got it. Your first EP came out in 2018?
Correct.
Yeah. What response did you get on that?
It was very good. We didn't expect to get signed off of that, but a little label picked us up, and some people still say it's their favorite work we did because it's a little more raw sounding, I guess, and yeah, it's a little more. It sounds a little more DIY than our other albums, but I really like it, and yeah, it was a great response out of the gate.
How quickly were you able to develop your style?
It was right away. I mean, those songs on Ride Out were the first songs we wrote, pretty much.
I mean, some would say we still don't know what our style is.
Some people would say that. But
It's a work in progress.
Exactly, but yeah, I mean, those first songs were the first time we ever jammed after drinking a whole bunch of beer in my basement. Was the first two songs were two songs that were on that EP. So yeah, it was pretty much right away.
So with the EP out, what were you able to do live-wise? Any tours, any live performances?
The first year, mostly we played around the Pacific Northwest. We played a lot of shows in our hometown, but we got a lot of cool gigs opening for bigger bands like Grim Reaper, Enforcer, Ross the Boss, bands like that. And then we kind of played in Portland. We went down to California a little bit. We played around Washington. And then, so it was kind of more just anywhere that would have us the first year we went and played.
Yeah, I mean, I think Darin deserves a lot of credit for kind of using some of the experience he had previously playing in bands and applying it to here. And I remember him telling us, we're not going to play any gigs until we have some music to release. So that was kind of our first project before we even played any gigs, was putting together that EP, writing the songs, recording them, practicing them. And that meant when we hit the stage, we already had that experience of, writing and recording the music, so we knew those songs like the back of our hands. And then, when we played a gig, we could say, hey, you like the music? Here's a CD to buy.
And and not a demo. I mean, nobody
Yeah.
wants a demo. People want albums, they want EPs, they want stuff that's composed and put together. So the idea was to have something tangible, so when people came to see us, they could buy something, have something to go home and get familiar with the band with.
And I would say, some people treat EPs like glorified singles, like we're going to put on a couple songs and a couple singles and stuff, but we've put out 2 EPs now, and they've been like meaty, double meat, double cheese kind of full-on EPs.
Definitely agree. 2 years later, Keepers of the Flame follows, your first full-length album. How do you look back at it now?
I love that record. There are some things I wish we changed, obviously, but it was definitely, we were learning a lot about making an album. I think with the knowledge we had at the time, everyone did really good. I think the songs are very strong on that record. I'm very, very extremely proud of Keepers of the Flame, and I think a lot of times those songs are still the ones people resonate with the most live. So I think it's a very well-respected record by people who like our bands.
Yeah, I'm real proud of how that album turned out. It's one of those things where it came out in 2020 during the pandemic year, obviously, and that was pretty frustrating because it meant we couldn't, have an album release show. We couldn't play as many gigs in support of that album as we wanted to, which was frustrating. But I've had multiple people come up to me and tell me that that album coming out when it did made a big difference to them and helped them get through that really difficult time. And so in that sense, I'm kind of glad it worked out the way it did, if it could be something that was meaningful for people during that time.
Yeah, I think also with that album, and say even all of our albums, what is a little different than other bands is we dive into a lot of different sections of heavy metal history from a lot of the songwriting, and there was something unique that I don't think a lot of other bands were doing, so I think we had a lot of fun doing that. We'll see where it goes from here, but that album, I think, was the beginning of, you had elements of power metal, even rock and roll, and just more traditional heavy metal, and you can always do more. There's less is never more.
As we said before,
Yeah.
work in progress.
Yeah.
So now with the EP and the album available and your name being out there, what possibilities open?
Unfortunately, at the time, none, because it was COVID times. So one of the real tragedies of Keepers of the Flame was it never got a tour.
Timing.
Yeah, the timing was, it never got a tour, it never got the support that it really deserved. So we couldn't do much, but at that point we got on a more legitimate record label. Fighter Records assigned us, so we had vinyl, we had CDs, and I think people kind of started to look at us as a more legitimate band. People from all over, that's when people from all over the world started to see us, not just people in our home state. And some opportunities, once the pandemic lifted, we played Legions of Metal for the first time on that record, and we played Stormbringer Festival in Massachusetts on that record. So there was some opportunities that eventually opened, but immediately we had to wait for the pandemic to end.
You didn't stop there,
No,
right?
it did.
2 years later, another EP,
Yes.
Call, right?
Call the Hawk.
Call the Hawk.
Call the Hawk was an interesting project. That's one where we had written, those are all songs we had written during the pandemic. We had probably 10 or 12 songs we'd written during that time, maybe more. And we were coming out of it, and we had a guitar player change, and we were kind of feeling we really need to do a fresh start. So we listened to all the songs, and we kind of didn't like half of them, maybe more than half. So we kind of picked the 5 that we liked the most, and we made an EP, just to get something that was focused and really higher quality songs of the 10, and kind of just get rid of the pandemic era, move forward into a new era of Greyhawk.
Yeah, it was a kind of a chance to experiment a little bit and try some different kinds of things. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It's kind of it's an odd little EP, but again, it's what I like about that, what I'm proud about that, is that it has a full arc to it. It might just have 5 songs, but it's
So we gotta move
but
all the
it,
shit.
it's a complete experience.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can bring the guitars down here.
Yeah, kind of echo what they kind of said.
It's all good, boys.
Yeah, no, it was it was a interesting EP because it was a time where we wanted to put something out. And we had a chunk of material, and at least for me, as doing a lot of the songwriting, it's a chance to explore a lot of the ideas I always have lying around. That's how a lot of Greyhawk songs come together. They could be ideas from 9 years ago that are
Also, at this point, you kind of became really popular with festivals.
Yes.
What would you say was a big breakthrough for the band?
Legions of Metal was the one, because when we played Legions of Metal in 22, Christian from Hell's Heroes was here, Ty from Mad with Power was here, Oliver from Keep It True and all those other festivals he promotes in Europe was watching and asking Bob how the bands were doing here. So Bob really gave us the platform here to perform, and all those other promoters to see us. And literally, Mad with Power said, we saw you play at Legions, it was great. And Hell's Heroes said, we saw you play at Legions, it was great. And the promoters in Germany said, we heard you kicked ass at Legions of Metal. So it was really Legions of Metal that was our launching point to get all those festivals. And then we played pretty much all of them in North America.
Funny you should say that. I mean, I was actually here at that show, but I didn't see you. I was upstairs with Nasty Savage doing an interview like this one,
Nice.
and a bunch of young kids came in and they were just raving about Greyhawk.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, based on that, reaction alone, I figured I need to check this band out, and here we are.
Well, then maybe you get a chance to tonight.
Yes, definitely. So obviously things continued. You just made a brand new record,
Yes.
right? Tell me about that.
Oh man, it's the first record I think I've made that I'm 100% happy with how it sounds. I think that we took a lot of the lessons we learned when it comes to the recording process, and we really applied them to make something with a slicker production, a better sound. It's more of a concise album, I think, than our previous ones. It's a little more straightforward, maybe a little more to the point. We were kind of playing around with a little more just melodic sounds as opposed to the more epic shreddy stuff. But I'm really proud of it. I love playing the songs off it. I think it's our best record to date, in my opinion.
Why the title Thunderheart? Lyricist, right?
Yeah, I mean, Darin and I watched, there's a movie from the 90s called Thunderheart with Val Kilmer and Graham Greene, and it's about, this cop who goes to this native reservation. He's part native. It's about kind of discovering who he really is, and that's a lot of our music's about, finding that power inside yourself, and it felt like a good match for our music. And when we watched that movie, we were like, that would be a cool title for a song. So we wrote the song Thunderheart, and then when the time came to decide on a title for the album, we went back and forth on a lot of things, but decided let's call the whole album Thunderheart. And it really came together when we kind of conceived of the cover art, and for me at least, when I can see that cover art in my mind's eye with that title Thunderheart, then I know it feels right.
I think this is one of our best albums. I agree with Darin. It was more production, and the songwriting was a bit more focused and grand, I would say, and melodic, which was different. I love to do the shreddy stuff, and this was a more attempt, I guess, to the title song Thunderheart in its original form was just called Popish Idea. So.
Yeah,
because it was a more
with melody.
It was the more melodic song, and it was a new sound for me when we first heard the production, and even me it was. But I agree, it was very one of my more happy albums.
Yeah, I think it's we've always kind of been interested in that space between rock and roll and classic power metal, and then for some reason, to some extent, U.S. power metal kind of lives in that kind of space. But I think we kind of let ourselves just go a little bit farther in that rock and roll direction on this record, because it's just a lot of fun, and I think that the combination is just a little different from what anyone else is doing right now, and yeah, we had a lot of fun just kind of making a classic rock and roll heavy metal album.
your album covers, very specific. What
Yep.
kind of a feel are you always going for?
I always like those album covers. I really like bright colors. I want the album cover, if it's on a shelf in a record store, to stand out, or if it's on a display on Bandcamp or on the internet. I feel like I want it to pop out, people to see it. So we have bright blue, bright green, bright red. I always wanted to reflect the power of the music that's inside, basically. You know, as long as when people pick up that album and they go, man, this album cover makes me want to know what's on this record. You know, that's kind of that's the main purpose for me when I'm conceiving something like that. That's my main focus.
Of all your records, which one received the most attention, feedback?
It's hard to say because Thunderheart's so new, you know. So I think so far, probably Keepers of the Flame, but that's had more time to kind of marinate with people. So people are still, giving us feedback on it. Thunderheart's just, as far as the public is concerned, it's just a month old. So I think there's a lot of people who just haven't heard it yet, and probably it'll end up being the one that's gotten the most attention so far.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much right.
At this point in the game, you had done 2 full-length albums, 2 EPs. How would you describe the songwriting process? How quickly are you able to write a song?
Oh, it really depends. I mean, sometimes we have a lot. Jesse does the lion's share of the music writing, so it kind of depends. I mean, sometimes he'll just send an email and there's a song in our inbox. Other times, I might have an idea for a melody or a bass line and I'll give it to him. Or, we have like a concept of a title first. So it really varies. But I mean, songs, once we get the idea set in place and get it rolling, it usually takes a couple weeks to refine it. But Jesse's probably more equipped to answer that than I am.
Yeah, I mean, just as for fun, I've always been writing music. It's so easy nowadays with technology. You can record, you can have a studio in your home. So, a lot of times I always have chunks of ideas that I'll write, sometimes drunk one night. Whatever will come, yeah. But it can happen very quickly because, I will usually demo it out, or Darin will send an idea, or even wherever there's a melody line, and I'll demo it in Logic, and then we listen to it all as a group, and if we like it, and then it gets refined more as a group, and but it can happen, very fast sometimes. Yeah.
Very good. It seems like you guys are very consistent with releases. Every 2 years you have something out. So what should we expect in 2026?
I'm hopeful for 2025, but we.
You gonna break the mold here?
I hope so. We actually have an idea. We'll pull back the curtain a little bit. We have an idea for a single that we're gonna hopefully start writing as soon as we're back in Seattle. That was inspired by our latest trip to Germany, in particular a trip to the Bachhaus in Eisenach to see the birthplace of the great composer Johann Sebastian Bach. So we have a really fun idea for a song that we're gonna try to lay down and put out as a single. But I'm hopeful we'll be able to get something out next year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away any. I don't want to give away the title of the song because that might be spoilers. So just stay tuned.
People are watching.
Yeah, just stay tuned.
Finally, what do you guys personally get out of it? Out of being in a band?
Yeah, fun for me. I played in 4 bands at one time, and it's not really my first pick of music. And I said I'm not going to do that again, and I'm going to be in a band that's fun. That I like getting, to have fans, listen and react to your music is experience that not a lot of people get. So I think that's, for me, that's very, very rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess fun is the short answer, but the long answer is it's really fulfilling to look out in the audience and see people singing along with music that we made and we wrote and we created. And the collaborative process is really great because, we could each write songs on our own, but when we collaborate and work together, it creates something that's greater than the sum of its parts. And also just the brotherhood aspect of getting to share all these experiences with your bandmates. Is when it's good bandmates like we have in this band. It's just so much fun to like go around the world and have all these adventures and experiences together.
I'm completely addicted to this. You know, it's the biggest thrill in my entire life. I've, you know, people who know me and know a little bit about my life, which is in the public, I've had enough near-death experiences and trauma and crazy things happen to me. And the one thing that's always been there is heavy metal music. So I almost feel like I owe heavy metal music. I owe it to heavy metal music to put something back and leave my mark on it. So it's my life's mission, it's been my life's work, and I'll never stop.
Thank you.